Hello, English 221. This is your video for week 14 class, and the topic is how to organize a long paper. I will put this PowerPoint into the module in Canvas called SA3 2100 in case you want to refer to it again without watching the video. Here we go. What is the logic of my paper? Each essay has an underlying logic, meaning how you decide to organize it. What's the setup overall? Because you don't want to put things in random order. You want some kind of setup for the whole paper that makes sense. Example, Essay 1 on Serafina crossing the border. Sample thesis. Serafina was morally justified in crossing the border without permission. My logic for organizing. Serafina was justified because, that's an appeal to principle. 2, Serafina was justified because blah, 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 appeal to principle 2, so that's another principle. Serafina was justified because, analogy here, and then remember you did a rebuttal. Some disagree by saying blah, 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 this is wrong because, and there's your rebuttal. So because you're taking a stand on an issue, the logic is each part is a different reason to believe the thesis. However, what you've learned by writing papers, many different papers, is that each paper has its own logic. So in a way, you have to learn how to organize all over again for each essay, which is why organizing essays is difficult. Here we go. Next, what is the logic of my paper? Each essay has an underlying logic. So now we're on essay 2. So your essay 2 was on BS that went viral. Your thesis was something like this example, BS is an interesting example of, and then whatever you're going to say, summarizing your paper. My logic for organizing. So this paper had a different logic to it. It's what I was suggesting to everyone in my comments on the rough draft is that you do the basics first for your BS that went viral. Context and background info, who said it, when they said it, where it appeared, that kind of thing. Your fact check also early in the paper because you want to do the basics first. So that was the logic for this paper. So you do your fact check, PolitiFact said this was false because, and each one of these is a different paragraph. And then after that, you get to your analysis. So this was the logic I was suggesting for essay 2, and you guys followed this kind of logic in your papers. So you might have a different kind of analysis in each paragraph. So you might have a paragraph where you explain the fallacy, a paragraph where you explain how confirmation bias led people to fall for it. You might have a paragraph on how this particular BS connects to a larger issue, such as gun control or the Trump presidency or something. And then you might have a paragraph. So because your logic is you're doing an analysis, you have a different kind of analysis in each paragraph. So again, the logic for this paper was different from essay 1. And so you had to think about what it meant to write this paper and set it up accordingly. Okay, next. So what is my logic for essay 3, 2100? Again, every new paper has its own kind of logic. Plus, you're trying to write a paper that's unique to you. It's your paper. So you have to organize it to say what you want to say. So examples and ideas for thinking about how you're going to set up the paper overall. And you have to figure that out first before you can make a good outline. So examples and ideas. Kaku in A Day in the Life. You might remember this article. He starts with morning and then noon, then afternoon, and goes through a typical day. So that's the logic that Kaku decided on for setting up his paper. Blitz in the Future Machines of the Year 2100 organizes by type of technology, climate change and energy, and so the technology there. military technology, transportation. So it's kind of organizing by different topic. ISO, idea, organized by topic, transportation, effects of climate change, family life, etc. And of course, you're deciding which topics. But that's a kind of logic for setting up your paper. Another idea, organized based on your descendant's life story. So it's 2100, and your descendant starts by looking back on childhood and then teen years. So this is an idea that a student had. I didn't think of this. So you could organize your paper that way. Another idea, separate personal and professional life into different parts. You might have a big part 1 and a big part 2. Part 1 is personal life, part 2 is professional life. And then you'll have a few paragraphs within each part. Another idea, zoom out to write about the big picture in some paragraphs, things about the world, 2100. Then zoom in to write about the particular person, my descendant. Zoom out, zoom in, back and forth. So that's another kind of logic. So, and maybe you have some other idea that's totally unique, but you're not just going to put things in random order in your paper. You need to think about what your logic is. Like, what's the overall setup that I'm going to use for my paper? And there's a lot of different options for this essay. So you'll have to decide, and you have to figure this out in order to be able to write a good outline and be able to organize your paper. Okay, next. I've chosen the overall logic for organizing. Now what? So once you've decided on kind of your overall setup, then how do I make an outline? How do I organize a long paper? What does an outline for a long paper look like? So here's a few things. One is has a logic to it that makes sense for my essay, for what I want to say. So again, it's unique to you, and you've figured out your logic. It will have a plan for many body paragraphs, probably 10 or more. So for a long paper, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages, you've got a lot of body paragraphs. So if you wrote papers in high school that were like 1, 2, 3, and you always thought 1, 2, 3, well, you have a lot more than 3 body paragraphs now. So that's something to figure out. For each body paragraph would be about something very specific. I have to cut it in slices. And this is something we talked about in essay 2. I noticed that a lot of people had too many different things in one paragraph. And so you have to think of a body paragraph as about being something very tiny. Like you could imagine a whole paragraph just about how your descendant, eats breakfast, right? Very specific. One small thing will be a whole paragraph. Organize into major parts. Then each part will have a few paragraphs in it. So once you get to longer papers with, if you have 12 body paragraphs, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that's kind of confusing. So you need major parts. So if you have 12 body paragraphs, maybe there's 3 major parts, and then there's 4 paragraphs in each one. So that's how to think about a long paper. And next, so once you've done all of that, what an outline for a long paper might look like. Okay, so here's a sample. Always go back to your essay question. You have a thesis. And so you've divided into parts. And then each part has more than 1 paragraph in it. So part 1 has 3 paragraphs. Part 2 has 3 paragraphs. Maybe for some reason part 3 has only 2 paragraphs. Who knows? It's up to you because your paper is unique. So maybe part 4 parts could work for a 10-page paper. That kind of makes sense. And that's how you're going to figure out your 12 body paragraphs. Let's look at another example. Well, depending on your logic, maybe the whole paper is just 2 big parts. I don't know. It depends on you and what you decide for your paper. So you could imagine a paper where you have this kind of split into two big parts, and each part has maybe 5 paragraphs in it or something. So that again, that depends on you and the logic you decide and what your paper is like. Or maybe you have a lot of parts. So this outline, you've chosen 5 parts, and then each part has some number of paragraphs in it, and then you have to figure that out for each part. So maybe part one has 2 paragraphs, part two just has 1 paragraph, part three is 2, etc. So um, you have to figure out for your paper, but figure out the parts first, and then within each part you can figure out your paragraphing. So maybe it'll look like that, maybe it'll look like that, maybe it'll look like that. I think for a paper this length, you're probably going to have somewhere between 2 and 5 parts, and then each part will have probably more than 1 paragraph in it. And that's how I would think about it. But of course, in order to figure out what the parts are, you have to have decided on your logic. So the logic for organizing is your big thinking task for setting up this essay. Once you figure that out, then I think you can figure out the details much easier. Okay, that is the end of my video. Thank you for watching. Oops, I'm gonna do that to stop.